What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Inside the Iggles podcast. I'm Jalil Williams, and we have a great show lined up for you today. Now, before we jump into that, two things. First, I want to start the show off with a Go Birds. And two, I want to talk a little bit about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, aka the arch enemy, right? Playing for the Cowboys. He has some comments this week about the Cowboys being the top team. He thinks that the Cowboys are the top team in the NFC. And one of the major things that he said that I want to focus on is, quote, we didn't lose a Javon Hargrave and then draft somebody. We have everybody across the board. So Javon Hargrave had 11 sacks. We subtract the 11 sacks from the 70 that the Eagles had. They still end up with more sacks than the Cowboys. So that's just one thing. But somebody just draft somebody. The somebody that was drafted is a Jalen Carter. Now I know I've expressed a little uncertainty about whether things are going to translate, but let's be real. Everybody was excited when Jalen Carter was drafted to the Eagles and surprised at the same time for a reason. This guy has top three talent. Top three talent. We know why he dropped. We don't need to get into that. But Micah Parsons himself seems to not have the memory of an elephant. They say remembers everything because if he did, he would remember that he himself was beside himself when the Eagles drafted Jalen Carter. He was shocked. He was appalled. He was taken aback. He said the value of that pick is crazy. Those were his words when the Eagles selected Jalen Carter. And now that person is just somebody. I don't know about that. But I do want to see what the rest of the fellas think. So let's bring them in now. We have our fearless leader, Jeffrey Knox, here with us. We also have Jake Beckman and Kevin Brostek, our new addition. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Sup,
Doing good.
Sup.
Hey, doing pretty good. How's it going, everyone?
Great job last week, by the way, fellas. Great job, by the way. Michael Parsons, man, like, are we still paying attention to what this guy says? Like, I try to tell myself sometimes that, the Eagles have a fan in Michael Parsons because, he really just wants to be a bird anyway. But then I get these other moments where I'm just like, everybody has a fan in Michael Parsons. I've seen him show up in Dallas Cowboys gear. I've seen him show up in Eagles gear, Sixers gear. Like, what else has he worn? He's all over the place. He's just ridiculous now at this point. But who are we to talk about the mindless rants of Dallas Cowboys Nation and their fans and things of that nature? If they're talking about how great they are and they're the best team in the conference, we should be excited because they're not going to let us down as they have done for the past 3 decades.
I love all the Micah Parsons talk. I love that. I love give me a good heel. Give me a good heel any day of the week, man. He's because there's nobody on the Eagles is like doing that same kind of like I don't even want to call it talking trash. It's just he's just making dumb comments. Like that, it's such a good thing to have. He's doing the job of two heels. Like it's like he's trying to respond to somebody in Philly saying that the I'm trying to think of the right way to say. He's trying to respond to something that the Eagles are saying to him. It's very dumb. He's a very dumb man, and I love that he's just so easy to dunk on. It's great. It's like playing basketball against a toddler on like a 3-foot hoop. It's very easy.
Yeah, he's like the perfect Dallas Cowboy. He's always bringing unwanted attention, things that aren't a story. He's just making it into a story for whatever reason. Just
what it is? It's like
bringing the attention.
It's like him and Jerry Jones have a get together every single week, and like what things can we say that will just kind of amplify our meaningless voice? And I'm here for it. I love that for them. Give them something to do in the off season because apparently they really don't need to build their team as far as what Michael Parsons can say.
No. What is this thing we got with the Dallas Cowboys? Like every time they add anybody, they're all of a sudden back in the race and everything. regardless of who they lose, regardless of who's not on the team anymore. We lose anybody, all of a sudden we're out of the race. So we can lose Javon Hargrave, we can lose like 5 defensive starters and things of that nature, and we're out of the race. But they're potentially pissed off their best offensive lineman.
But,
We don't want to snap anymore. You got Stephon Gilmore, who I love. Stephon Gilmore is a Gamecock, but the guy's really living off of reputation now more than anything else, more than what he's actually done, like for the past few years. But what is it, like 3 teams have given up on him now in the past 3 seasons? Is that right? Or have I lost count?
Yeah, but he hasn't been the same since he left New England.
I'm starting to wonder if that was a product of some New England magic as opposed to what he was, because he wasn't as great in Buffalo.
We know how great Belichick is, right? One of the greatest defensive minds ever. So to say that he helped make Stephon Gilmore who he was is probably not that much of a stretch.
Going back to that Cowboys thing, that nobody you're talking about people that they've lost and people that they're pissing off. Nobody's bringing up the fact that they lost a center from last year, because Zeke still has he's still just floating around there. If you don't remember, and we haven't talked about it really near enough, that the last snap of football for the Dallas Cowboys, Zeke was a goddamn center. So if we wanted to really dive in on it as much as we could, and I'm willing to do that. I have nothing else going on. I can take all the time in the world to dive into Dallas Cowboys Twitter. Nobody's talking about that near as much as we should. It kind of got a good week there right after it happened, and the clip of him just getting absolutely flattened went around a lot. But it certainly should make a resurgence, and it would it'd be a real shame if somebody spearheaded that effort.
Hilarious.
I volunteer as tribute.
I was actually going back and forth with a Dallas Cowboys fan a couple of days ago and everything, and I would not have done this had I known it was a Dallas Cowboys fan in the beginning, because I just refuse to talk to them. Like, I feel like I'm better than they are. It's like Jay-Z and like you responding to like these no-name rappers and things of that nature. Like Jay-Z responds to legends. I respond to legends. I don't respond to Dallas Cowboys fans. So I would not have been engaging with this person had this been the case. But he's sitting there telling me about the genius of Jerry Jones and all these things that was going on, which is when I figured out who I was talking to. And it's like, okay, we've shown y'all how to build a team, and we've done this forever. We've been doing this since Big Red was in town. Start with the offensive line. You get yourself a franchise quarterback, which is what we have, and you're debatable. You get yourself an offensive line to protect that franchise quarterback. We have the best. Yours is not that good. Then you get you a defensive line to go make life hell for the other team's offensive stars and their best their quarterback that's a franchise guy, which you guys don't have. Like, we don't know if Mozzie Smith's going to be good. We don't know anything about this defensive line. The pass rush is okay and stuff like that, but DeMarcus Lawrence versus Lane Johnson, he's got a 1 sack on him lifetime?
And to that point about the team building and all of that, you mentioned the problems, Jake, that they're having with Zach Martin right now. When's the last time we hear the Eagles are having some sort of holdout with an offensive lineman, some sort of contract dispute? That we take care of those guys. We know how important they are. So, yeah,
you ignore the offensive lineman who needs his money, but you give damn near $100 million to a cornerback.
Yeah.
You guys got running back. You guys got it together.
If I'm the Cowboys, there's 2 options here. Number one, don't pay Zach Martin, let him go somewhere else. That's one option. And then the other option is just pay him an absolute boatload of money so that you can't afford to pay anybody else. That's the other option. So if I'm them, those are the 2 things that I do. And I don't actually know if there's another option out there for that. Just make sure you blow your whole wad on them, and then or just don't pay him at all and have nobody protecting Dak. So that I see no faults with either of those 2 things that I just said.
And in a year where last season they did struggle to protect him some. That line was already deteriorating from what it had been.
Would you tell me Jason Peters wasn't doing the trick?
No, it just wasn't. Who'd have thunk it? But yeah, so you would think that they'd understand that, hey, we probably need to do more for the line, not less. That doesn't make any sense at all. But
and you see what that
Jerry,
does.
Just keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Yeah, you see what that does the Dak Prescott's game. All of a sudden, he's leading quarterbacks in interceptions, and he's playing not like he did, and like the whole team was.
Hey, he's not going to throw 10 this year, man. Don't worry about it.
They're running the ball now. They're putting it all on the play calling of Mike McCarthy, and
they're going to run the ball without Zach
Tony
Martin.
Pollard is the guy now.
It's a caricature of a football team, man.
All right, guys, I got a date with SmackDown, and I want to see what the Usos and Roman Reigns are doing.
There you go.
11 minutes of this, 12 minutes into this now. I'm going to insist that we move on and talk about some of our guys.
Let's do it.
Speaking of our guys, the no-name guy that Micah mentioned, Jalen Carter, looks pretty good as far as I'm concerned. 2 practices. I've been saying for the past couple of days that there was a walkthrough yesterday, but it appears that they were telling us there was going to be a walkthrough and they were actually off. So the walkthrough is tomorrow, I understand, and then they're back to practice on Sunday, things of this nature. Like, great work schedule these guys have. They barely tackle now. They wear shorts all summer, and hey,
man,
Jalen Carter's a beast, man.
With all these injuries going around, yeesh, I'm all for it. That's what like this training camp. I don't want to say it's juiceless for me this year. Like the last couple of years with like paying attention to like all the Jalen Hurts stuff. That's always given me a lot of juice. But this one it's only a couple battles and stuff like that. With Nick Sirianni doesn't necessarily show his hand with like play calling during training camp and stuff like that. So you're not going to see a whole lot that way. So everything that I'm really paying attention to is just like everybody, please, for the love of God, and everything that's holy, stay healthy. I mean, what has it been so far? Training camp injury wise, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Joe Burrow, and then Jalen Ramsey have all gone down. It's been less than a freaking week, my dude.
Yep.
So that's if they're doing the light workload as they continue to do, I'm all for that. I know you're talking about Jalen Carter, but that was just on the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can
get into some injuries. Hassan Reddick has missed both practices. Anybody worried?
No, too early to be worried. Too early.
I'm not worried. Because people have thrown out not the hold out, but the hold in, because he's grossly underpaid for what he did last year. And if a human being level, you got to understand that. So again, you're right. It is too early, but it's not nothing. The injury wise, I'm not worried about the injury part of it. I think he's totally fine. But the other aspect is that's the startling part to me.
Don't let the boogeyman scare you, Jake. It's going to be all right, man.
I'm terrified of everything.
Okay, so Vontae Maddox has a toe injury. I think I kind of expected that. He just had surgery. It was a long season. The guys didn't get done playing until February. Had surgery shortly thereafter and things of that nature, and they're kind of trying to take it easy with him and stuff. So Vontae Maddox is just a guy who, I'm not going to call him fragile, but his play style with his body type, he's never going to play 17 games for us, like ever. Toe injury. And then you got Derek Barnett with the knee, which he's still trying to rehab from. He went down in the first game of the season last year. And I'm no doctor or anything, but I've been told by doctors and RNs and CNAs that I know that even if you weren't playing football, you probably want a year to heal from the type of injury he had. So him being out of the lineup is kind of something that I expected and not too worried about either. But I'm cool with resting Hassan Reddick. And to your point, Jake, I'm cool with the guys just kind of managing these injuries and just getting to the season healthy. Seemed to work for us last year, and I trust Nick Sirianni and things of that nature. I feel like if there was one time to break that rule, it would be this year. 2 new coordinators, things of that nature. I think the best way to get better at football is by playing football. But it worked for the guys last year.
I was going to say, the last 2 years they've been doing the easier training camps, and they've come out week 1 rolling. So,
yeah, true, exactly. And about Avonte Maddox, I hate to say never. And if any of you are Star Wars fans, they say that only Siths deal in absolutes. You know what I'm saying? So I never want to say never. Maybe he can have a really good season where he can make it all the way through. I just hold out hope. True to form, right? At this point, what we say, optimistic prime. So I'm always just kind of err on that side, though. I agree that it's probably a long shot because he is a wrecker. He will go in there and slam his body into the pile, into Derrick Henry or something like that, as small as he is. I love that about him, though. I love that about him.
What you think, Kevin? I got something I'm throwing at you guys. I'm gonna give you guys a brain teaser here in a second. What you think, Kevin?
I mean, whatever strategy that Nick Sirianni's kind of brought in, injuries are going to happen regardless. But compared to the Doug Peterson years, especially towards the end of his tenure, our guys, I feel like, have stayed healthier for longer term, a little bit more reliable. And it's like, if you got to go a little easier during the training camp, the preseason, but still have everyone ready for week one and stay healthy through the season, it's like, that's what we're here for.
All right, brain teaser. I've been saving this all week for you guys. Actually, had I been with you guys last week, I'd asked you this last week. But a thought crossed my mind not too long ago. And then I saw somebody else write about it and things. And then I started thinking about this a little bit more deeply. All right, so the battle for right guard is supposedly between Cam Jurgens and Tyler Steen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cam Jurgens is a center, right? Jason Kelce isn't going to practice, right?
Yeah.
Jason Kelce is going to take a lot of days off, right? There are only 9 practices. We're talking about these guys aren't going to work a whole lot. When in the hell is Cam Jurgens going to have an opportunity to learn how to play right guard or get any snaps doing so if he's actually playing center as the backup guy? Now, it looks like these first 2 practices, what they did was they actually did place him at right guard with the first team. So that's cool. So he did get some work over there and things of that nature. So my question, I think, at the time was, how's this going to translate into like him being ready for game one? Because you already got, as great as he is, you got an undersized center in Jason Kelce.
I think that between whatever reps that he is able to get in practice, that other time is going to have to be supplemented in the preseason. He's going to have to play more snaps probably than the other guys, so he can make sure that he gets that time at right guard to try to learn and get comfortable in that position.
I feel like David is specifically talking to me to relax, and quite frankly, I won't. Don't do that.
Talking to all of us and everything. So appreciate you, David. Appreciate you for checking in with us and hanging out with us tonight. But that was my thing. I'm like, okay, so I was wondering at first, I was like, when is this guy going to actually have an opportunity to play right guard? And then I was like, when he does play right guard, I mean, the theory is, and Jake, you and I talked about this before, that Lane Johnson likes to have a bigger guy to his left.
Yep.
But then, Cam has the benefit if he does win the job, and they're going to give him every opportunity to do so. They're going to sit him between 2 Hall of Famers. But then you also wonder, typically from what I understand, your left guard can be a mauler, but he's typically your better pass protector, being next to your left tackle. And then your right guard is pretty much your mauler and things of that nature. And they say that about the right tackle position as well. But I don't know. I'm just kind of curious as to how all this shapes out and everything, because you got undersized guy at center, but great, talented, future Hall of Famer. Undersized guy at right guard, and you got like another Hall of Famer at right tackle. I'm putting Lane Johnson in the Hall of Fame, by the way, just in case you hadn't figured that out.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yep. I want to see the versatility there. I want to see him like be the center of our future. But I mean, Kelsey's not going to be there forever, and could be a year or 2 left. But by the time he says he's going to retire, so I want to see Cam Jurgens be ready. But it's like he's kind of in his youth, it's still his prime. So it's like if he can get a starting spot, it's like might as well go for it and add to his versatility.
To me, because the having him play in the preseason, man, I don't necessarily know if you want to have your potentially starting right guard get all that many snaps. Like that preseason seems like that might be a Brett Toth under center, or Brett Toth as a center kind of a time. Man, it's hard to say, man. It really kind of depends on how many of those practices that Jason Kelce takes off. But I think I did bring this situation up last year when talking about who's going to get that right guard position. And I think what it's going to come down to, and I mean, it's the most telling part for the team, and I think that is the way that they do this, is they focus more on those joint practices.
Yeah. And those become more important in the preseason games now. That's what they consider like the wins and losses against those teams rather than the preseason games. So it's a very weird situation. I will say that.
When I say the preseason games too, I don't mean like too many extra, right? So say, for example, the starting offense plays one series, right? So of course Cam Jurgens is playing that right guard spot. Then the next series, the second team comes in, but they leave Jurgens in for one more series, maybe at that right guard spot. Just a few more extra snaps, a few more extra reps. Nothing too crazy, but just so we can know for sure if he's going to be ready for that starting guard spot. I think that could be a possibility.
Yeah, as far as guys who like have the hardest training camp go, I mean, it goes obviously the bubble guys have to, like the roster bubble guys have to play their hearts out, but then I mean, Cam Jurgens is just he's gonna be dog tired, man. Like he's gonna have a lot of reps that he's doing at a couple different positions. I think he's gonna have one of those hard training camps.
So
I'd be worried about his health.
Tyler Steen then, right? And Kevin, you're our Alabama guy. Tell us something about Tyler Steen we don't know. We hadn't been talking about.
I mean, as far as his career and all, it's like a lot of people probably don't realize is once he came to Alabama, that's where he kind of got his fame there and name recognition. But being in Vanderbilt too, he has experience to the SEC, playing various defenses and things like that. So it's like he's got experience he's bringing to the table against some good defensive lines. So it'd be interesting to see how that could translate into the NFL here.
Are you worried at all, or you have any questions about the position switch? Because he played tackle at Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was mostly a tackle. I mean, I think he should be okay. I mean, isn't guards a little bit easier to play than tackle? I would think once you're in the NFL level.
I think it really depends on his body. Isn't there something about his body size? Is his arms are too long or too short, or something like
too short?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Which is just a very funny thing to say about a professional athlete. Got little baby arms.
You mean short for a professional athlete, but longer than all ours.
Somebody just stuck a Mr. Potato Head arms on his torso. It's like, oh, those are too short.
They were talking about somebody's arms and hands that tackle from Northwestern that they wanted to stick on our roster. Things of that nature.
Oh, was it Peter?
Skornowski, I think.
Skornowski, yes, Skornowski. So we're talking about his hands and his arm length and stuff like that. And I kept looking at my arms and my hands like they're bigger than mine.
Yeah, I'm sitting here like, hey, what the hell, man?
Just further driving the point home that I was never going to be an NFL star and everything.
I realized that a long time ago. Once I stopped growing at 5'8", I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is in my future,
When I didn't hit 150 pounds until my junior year of high school, I was like, I might got to start thinking about different avenues.
It's amazing for the NFL. So you got to be perfect size, everything, hands, arms, weight, body frame. It's like if you don't have the perfect metrics, like you can be even a good college player, but it's like then you're not going to make it in the NFL.
You say that, but I don't know if you guys saw it, that we were talking about the Cowboys. Did you see that clip of Deuce Vaughn at the Cowboys training camp? I mean, okay, so whenever Kyler Murray scrambles, he looks like a child running around with something that he's not supposed to have, like he's trying to keep it away from you. Deuce Vaughn, the guy is, buddy, he's small. Buddy, Darren Sproles was small. Deuce Vaughn might be half his size. He's a tiny man.
I always say Darren Sproles was short. He's not small. Him and Boston Scott, really, man. Him and Boston Scott.
Right. Boston Scott is our short king. Deuce Vaughn is a tiny jester. He's a oh my God. It was startling. It was startling.
Other cool training camp things that stood out. Jalen Hurts looks good. Not doing anything too spectacular, but just being his usual proficient self, things of that nature. I was asked earlier this week if I thought Olamide was going to take the third wide receiver position and kind of, I guess circumvent Quez Watkins for that job. I am convinced now, and I'm ready to say that he will. And part of the reason he will is because he's been reunited with Marcus Mariota. They had a report they built together last year with the Atlanta Falcons. Olamide looks good in space, man. He looks shifty. I know we looking at guys in shorts. But it's kind of like that Bijan Robinson clip and everything when he juked out a guy and everything. I was like, we kind of have to see this with pads on, things of that nature. But Olamide is going to get like a lot of second team reps. Marcus Mariota is going to get those second team reps, which means Marcus Mariota is going to look for Olamide, the guy he knows, the guy he has the most rapport with, the guy he's most familiar with, and with more opportunity creates opportunities to make big plays. Shout out to Christian Ellis, whose streak of interceptions and consecutive practices ends with 3, who didn't get an interception today. I've been pulling for him. But the extra reps and the extra opportunities and looking for Olamide on so many occasions is going to give him a chance to prove just how talented he is. And I do think he's going to be a nice space guy. And but Marcus Mariota might suck.
They said he had a better practice today. I heard he bounced back. Had a nice deep ball to Greg Ward and everything, too, on top of some of the passes he threw to Olamide.
Oh, and Josh Jobe, man. Josh Jobe, you do not want to get beaten deep by Greg Ward.
Right. That's very bad. That's very bad.
I mean, you do not want to get beaten deep by Greg Ward. That's not what's supposed to happen here.
That's tough. That's such a tough look for a guy. What was that? Who did we have in the preseason a couple of years ago when it was the very first preseason game? It might have been like the first play, and Quez Watkins absolutely burned somebody. Now, it's different to be burned by Quez Watkins because he's goddamn lightning quick. But the other guy, he just like, Quez, you just ruined that man's career. Like, Greg Ward, you just broke Josh.
That was one of those open practices too, right?
Say that again?
That was one of those open practices. Wasn't that against New England or somebody?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, oh no, dude, you can't have that happen.
Now, to his credit, Josh Jobe is having a good camp, but that didn't seem to be like something you wanted to be on the wrong end of a highlight of. You don't want to be getting burned by Greg Ward.
You don't want that to be the memorable thing.
You're trying to make the roster, but I guess they're comparable. I mean, Greg's trying to make the roster at the end of the wide receiver depth chart, and I guess Josh is trying to do the same thing for the cornerbacks. But I give Josh a slight edge because he's pretty good on special teams and things of that nature. And he was pretty good there last year. But if you're on X, formerly known as Twitter,
it's still Twitter. Damn that.
What, are you guys not zeeting? You guys not zeeting all over the place? I'm
actually,
zeeting right now.
If you look at the app now, it actually has a big X on the app now too and everything. So I'm trying to get used to saying follow Jalil and Kevin and Jake on X. But if you follow X, to your point, Elliot Shore Parks always keeps track of stats in practice. It's just the funniest thing ever. But Jalen Hurts in 2 days, 17 and 24, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Marcus Mariota did bounce back today. He had the touchdown pass, and he had the 1 interception yesterday. Deflection. Trying to remember who they got their hand in on that one. McCollum, I think.
No.
Kind of right went in there to DeAndre Swift. McCollum got his hands on the ball, deflected in the air, and ends up being an interception for Christian Ellis. So that was, I think it was Christian Ellis. But that ends up being an interception. He also heard footsteps from Nolan Smith, who's just like you always talking about lightning quick, Jake. Like he's lightning quick off the edge. Apparently, Marcus heard his footsteps and just dropped the ball.
Buddy, you're
not going to get hit, man. You got on a red jersey.
There's no pads, and you have on a red jersey. You lunatic. What are you doing?
But I fell victim of, that recency bias I always pick on people for. So I'm actually watching Marcus Mariota on that quarterback series and things of that nature. And I'm like, look, Marcus Mariota, further proof that the Heisman means absolutely nothing unless you're Devontae Smith or somebody. But Marcus Mariota wins the Heisman Trophy. He goes to Tennessee. He has some decent showings there. He ends up losing the job there to Ryan Tannehill, right?
Yep.
Was Ryan Tannehill right after him?
Yep.
Right. So he loses the job to Ryan Tannehill. He goes to the Raiders, can't win that job. Derek Carr, I guess, is a lot better than people give him credit for being and things.
I think he is.
I'm not going to beat him up too much for that. But then you go to Atlanta and you lose the job to Desmond Ridder.
Yeah. No, we're not giving him no slack for that one. That's horrible.
Marcus Mariota might suck, man.
I think he does.
But yeah, he might. But he might suck as a starter. Maybe he'll be okay in short spurts as a backup if we need him. Hopefully, we don't. But what stood out to me when I'm pulling up his
stats.
So some of the practice notes I saw was, and this is kind of me just kind of trying to look out for my hopes and predictions. Is Bradbury giving some love to Nakobe Dean and shouted him out, after practice in a little interview, just saying he's doing a great job with the communication and everything. And of course, it's going to be super important with him wearing the green dot this year. So we know we need to actually see him on the field doing things, but it's a step in the right direction. It's very early. I like to hear that from Bradbury, a veteran who's dealt with a lot of different linebackers. So for him to give him that love, I like to hear that.
I mean, I want to go back to Marcus Mariota quick here. I mean, I don't ever want to see our
he might suck. That's the tough.
Yeah, I don't want to ever see our backup quarterback, and we got Jalen Hurts. We hope he's in there all season long. But Mariota for a a bad Falcons team last year, you went 5-8 as a starter.
Yeah,
15 interceptions compared to 15 touchdowns compared to 9 interceptions. I mean, it's not the most terrible of numbers. But I mean, for a backup, hopefully we wouldn't need him any more than 2 to 3 games. I mean, could be an upgrade over Minshew for what we had last year.
Anything.
Not terrible, man. He played on some bad Tennessee teams.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all wouldn't be.
You mentioned last year, 13 starts. No starts in Vegas, but 34-40 as a starter. 62% completion percentage. You like that to be higher. 92 interceptions versus 92 touchdowns. Why do we keep inverting touchdowns, interceptions? 92 touchdowns versus 54 interceptions. So that's not necessarily 3-1 or anything. So
you are interested in some double quarterback packages? I'm trying to see Jalen Hurts and Marcus Mariota on the field at the same time.
Oh snap! We got playoff stats. I forgot about that. Yeah, Tennessee. You won a game. You got one game in Tennessee. So 1-1 in Tennessee as a starter in the playoffs. 4-1 touchdown interception ratio, 60% completion percentage, and we all know he's a runner. So let me see if I can find his running stats. But I don't know, man. I just always like when they tell us guys are better than we think they are, and they're telling us, well, he's going to show up, and maybe if he has to play a game, he can win one. Like everybody got mad at me because I said that about Gardner Minshew, man. Like he beat the Jets, and I really don't trust this guy. Then he goes 0-2 last year. So I mean, it's hard to play quarterback in the NFL, though.
Did Mariota and AJ Brown ever have any overlap in Tennessee? I feel like no.
I don't.
2019 was his last
2019,
year.
I think.
Yeah, 2019 was last year in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when AJ came in, right?
I think so.
2009. Let me see. Let's pull it up here.
I don't know.
For Google, man. You remember when we used to have to remember the stuff off the top of our heads? You don't have to memorize anything anymore. Yeah, 2019, they shared some time at Tennessee.
Okay. Just out of curiosity.
But that's when he got supplanted for Ryan Tannehill too, because he was 2-4 at the starter.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever saw Marcus Mariota, especially seeing his throwing motion. Nobody's ever looked at Marcus Mariota and goes, "That guy can spin it. That guy's a thrower of the ball." No, I mean, Kevin, you brought up his record in Atlanta last year. I mean, they were the run heaviest team in the NFL, weren't they? Atlanta was, or was that maybe Carolina? Maybe Carol. I can't remember.
That's where I get encouraged because that's the offense, that and the Chicago Bears offense that most reminded me of what we do here in Philadelphia.
Maybe it's Chicago, but anyway,
Atlanta too. The same style of play.
But to say he's like 5-8 as a starter, whatever you said, it's like yeah, but also didn't necessarily rely on him a whole lot to progress the movement of the game. I mean, he was a signal caller there. He wasn't really commanding the offense or anything, but I get what you mean.
Atlanta led the league last year with 559 rush attempts. Chicago was second.
Okay.
Philadelphia was third.
Yeah, so that's to give him the win-loss record. I'm not a big quarterback win-loss record, like the whole blank quarterback has never beat other blank quarterback. It's like, yeah, but also what the hell are you talking about? So when it comes to the win-loss record, especially in this scenario, it's like, doesn't do a whole lot of juice for me.
Isn't Mariota the one who threw the pass in the red zone that got tipped back to him and he caught it and scored the touchdown?
That was him.
Mariota.
Yeah, he threw a touchdown pass himself.
That was his playoff win in Tennessee.
Yeah, heads up play. Great. Hey, Marcus Mariota knows ball.
There we go.
Atlanta had some impressive wins though last year. They win 27-23 in Seattle.
They beat 49ers, didn't they?
I didn't even remember this. They beat the 49ers 28-14. How the hell did that happen? Did y'all see that?
And this is I was just because I know we've been calling them the 40 whiners. I just brainstorm. I'm looking to build off of that. All right. So what did I call it? The Where Francisco Dorky Whiners. I'm just trying to throw stuff at a wall.
That's actually better than the 40 Waters, man. We got to
see. I'm just trying to expand on it, and then we'll get to making bullying nicknames for their players.
The Wab Francisco Fort Dorky Whiners.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like, obviously, we have room to build. Francisco is a hard one to build into an insulting name because it's tough, but we'll get there.
Maybe if you shorten it to Fran, it will be a little easier. I'm not sure what to come up with in that regard, but
that's a good. I'll go back. I'll go back to the lab. I'll cook something up and I'll come back next week with something.
There we go.
Who's excited about the Kelly Green uniforms dropping?
Not me. No, I just feel like they've been kind of overrated. I know. I'm sorry. I see, Jake, your reaction. I'm not a fan of the lime green look. My pops has one of those Reggie White, Kelly Green jerseys.
We've never had this conversation. How can you say this?
I just got to be truthful. I'm over it. I'm leave it in the past. I love the jerseys now. You know what I'm saying? I like the yellow and blue, the light blue that we've had in the past. I love those because they're just a little too wonky, and I love them. But, I mean, hey, as much as I'm an optimist, I also happen to be kind of a contrarian.
I was about to pull the Optimus Prime card on you.
You
don't like the Kelly Green jerseys?
Out of pocket.
No, I'm not really a fan.
You know why they alternate jerseys, though, right? Because, this midnight green thing, that's Jeffrey Lurie's thing, right?
I like the midnight green.
Midnight green came in with Jeffrey Lurie. That's his color and things of that nature. So he threw you a bone. Fans everywhere, I love my fans and things of that nature. I gave y'all what y'all wanted. We brought these Kelly Green jerseys back, but they're gonna be an alternate. We're gonna stick with that midnight green though.
Does this mean like the Sunday night blackouts are done? Kelly Green replaces black, or is this going to be an additional?
Yeah, I don't think they have the black helmets anymore. Or if you're just talking about the black jersey, aren't they allowed to have two alternate jerseys?
They're allowed to have two alternate jerseys. What they could do is, because you only got two shells that you can actually use, they could actually go with the Kelly Green look with the Kelly Green jersey and then go back to the green. Because, before they had the black helmet last year, they always went with the green helmet, and it didn't look that bad.
Yeah, the black helmet didn't do a whole lot for me. Like,
it looked better before they put it on.
Yeah, like the pictures looked sick when it had all the glare and all the shining and everything on it. Yeah. But then when you put it on, it's like, during the game, it's like, honestly, I can't tell that much, to be real. Like, it's like, okay, I get it. I get that it works, but you saw other teams coming out like the Bengals with their white helmet, and you're like, okay, now that's dope. That is the dope.
I like the Panthers black helmet too. That should be their helmet, to be honest with you.
Black. Oh yeah,
it's gonna be rough in Charlotte though when it gets to be like 100 degrees in September though, and they try to come out with that on with a home game. So maybe gray still works. Gray or silver? Was their colors gray or silver? I've never figured that out. I feel like
what's the difference?
It looks gray to me.
Was the close enough?
Speaking of silver, silver is actually one of the Eagles' colors. So if we're gonna go like Kelly Green jersey, we got to go all the way with it. We got to go back to those silver pants too, though. I know you're not feeling this, John Leo, but I'm just saying. Kelly Green jersey, man, that's kind of like that powder blue that powder blue Chargers jersey.
Oh yeah,
classic.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I like that one.
Most beautiful color.
Way better than the Kelly Green jerseys.
Well, as plain as the jersey is, man, that Browns jersey, that's just a classic to me. Always has been. The orange helmet, the brown jersey, and things of that nature. Because they threw me off when they got this little elf now in the middle of the field. They told us this has been their mascot forever. Like, I've never heard of this guy till last year.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
You remember the I can't remember what year it was. They had to wear Browns just down the right side of their leg.
Yeah.
That was awful.
That's just a town with an identity crisis going on with their football team. It's like, no, you guys are the Browns. It's very easy to know what you guys are. Don't try to rebrand yourselves with an elf or with different pants. You're the Browns. Learn your place, dog.
Like we wouldn't remember, right? Hey,
yeah.
This elf is our mascot since when?
Who do you think you're fooling?
And his name is Brownie the Elf.
Trust
Brownie the Elf. They got really creative with that one.
Yeah.
Let me cook.
That's awful. I will say though, if there's anybody that deserves a Super Bowl title, like if some kind of way I don't know, if some kind of way the Bills or I'd even throw the Chargers in there. They've been through a lot. If some kind of way the Bills won a Super Bowl and they weren't playing the Eagles, of course, or the Browns find a way to get in and actually win it, like their fans deserve it, man. They're like, these are the most loyal fans in all of sports. And I always rock with loyal fans, like damn like Patriots fans who like showed up in this microwave fan base like 20 years ago.
That's another trigger word for me there, though. Deserve, I don't deserve to win in sports. I don't do deserve to win. They
Browns fans deserve. The
Browns
may not deserve to win, but the Browns fans deserve a Super Bowl.
They deserve a shred of happiness. They deserve
they deserve their organization to like be better, but you don't deserve a Super Bowl. That's a little much for me. It's like people were like, "Oh, I wanted Larry Fitzgerald to win the Super Bowl. He deserves it." No, he doesn't. That's just not the way it works. So many guys don't win. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But deserve, that word is a trigger for me. I can't get
hypothetically speaking, they're not playing the Eagles. The Browns make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, their losses got names, man. The Drive.
That's not a good. That's not. I didn't think about that.
That's great for football.
They've never even been to the Super Bowl. At least the Chargers got there and screwed this thing up. Like they've never even been. The Bills got like 4 straight losses. Like this is awful. Like Bills fans, like if Bills fans have suffered enough, they were like us. Like I look at Bills fans, like I remember that. That was us. I look at Browns fans, like I remember that. That was us. Like the same type thing. Like the Eagles had obviously the 3 championships before we got tonight from 1948, 1949, 1960. They had 3 NFL championships pre the merger and the Super Bowl era and things of that nature. Then we got there in 80 and lost. Then you got there with Andy Reid ran into the Patriots and you lost. And man, it was a rough time and stuff like that. But I mean, the Browns, to their credit, like back in the Jim Brown days, they were the Patriots.
Maybe all right, but the Bills. Let's go to the Bills real quick since you mentioned them. Let me tell you why the Bills don't deserve a Super Bowl for sure. 4 syllables, 13 seconds. You let Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs score in 13 seconds in that conference championship game 2 or 3 years ago. I can't. That was your chance. You had it right there. You had the number 1 defense, just 13 seconds. That was and it was amazing because I love to see it as a fan of football. That game is one of the best, if not the best game I've ever seen, especially the ending. But yeah, when I'm looking at that Bills defense and how good you're supposed to be, and you allowed Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce pretty much by themselves to work up the field in 13 seconds to score in the playoffs, get out of my face. You know what I'm saying?
That's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce though.
It's 13 seconds.
Did that loss break them?
Oh yeah.
You think?
I think they still haven't recovered from that. Like I was looking at them last year in the playoffs with the Bengals. I was like, they're starting to go in the wrong direction, and they started looking like a juggernaut at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's like they peaked too early in the year.
Yeah. Yep. I guess I'm soft-hearted, man. I feel like I look at us, and I remember how I felt the 3 straight championship losses, finally getting there, losing. I remember the 80 championship game loss. I remember 39. I remember all that, man. And I just remember how I felt, man. And I'm just like, we were just so loyal. We just always show up regardless of what happened. You just keep showing up year after year, just waiting on it to happen. And you got Browns fans, man, like, no, you're right. Teams don't deserve Super Bowls and stuff like that. But I am not going to be upset if they're not playing the Eagles or the Browns some kind of way make it to the Super Bowl and they actually win them one. Like, thank God for your fans.
All right, but
these people keep showing up.
But let me ask you this. When I ask you to consider them picking up Deshaun Watson the way they did.
I forgot about Deshaun Watson.
I was going to say they deserve to not have a quarterback who's a total sicko pervert. Like they deserve that. But that's quite a big check mark in the cons list.
But that's part of this whole desperation for wanting to win, man. Like they'll do anything for this fan base to win because this fan base deserve it. They've been through hell. They live in Cleveland. That's bad enough.
Yeah, what would you do for a Klondike bar? What would you do for a Super Bowl victory?
A river in Cleveland caught on fire. A river.
Maybe give a whole bunch of guaranteed money to a guy who is addicted to massages. Maybe that.
And Brandon Whedon. And let's not forget when they drafted Brandon Whedon at 28, the 28-year-old rookie to be their starter.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hilarious experiment.
I don't remember the numbers, man, but I was sitting there looking at him and like it was I remember seeing Ben Roethlisberger was at Pittsburgh forever because believe it or not, we forget about this. The Browns and Steelers are supposed to be rivals. And they kind of are because you know the Ravens are the old Browns and things of that nature. They actually carried Browns records for a while and they had to give them back to Cleveland. But the Browns and Steelers are actually supposed to be rivals. Like this is supposed to be like a rivalry that's supposed to go back and forth, and it never does. But one team's just been consistently great for the most part. One team's been consistently terrible. And it was just like this long stat about how long Ben Roethlisberger had been there. And all the Browns quarterbacks that had come in during that time that Ben Roethlisberger was there. It's like 20-1 ratio.
I love it. Like every time they get a new quarterback, there's always that what's it called? There's like a infographic that comes out like on Twitter or something like that just lists everybody's names. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. Oh yeah, Colt McCoy, forgot about. Oh yeah, I forgot he had it. And then it's just so much fun. Oh yeah, Johnny Manziel, remember that?
Oh yeah. We got to move on, man, because this is an Eagles show, and then after a while, people are gonna start hitting us up asking us why we're talking about Cleveland Browns.
Doing better than the national media covering the league.
Matt Leo retired. Where you want to go with it? Matt Leo retired. Part of the International Pathways program that gave us Jordan Mailata, but Matt Leo doesn't work out.
What was it? His thing was that like his international, like the thing for it, like ran out or something. Like the time, the amount of time that he is considered the international guy ran out, or what? What was the whole thing behind that? I was having some trouble understanding that.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't that interested in it, and I just saw he retired. I remember how he came in. I remember that he left out and he retired. He's no longer with us and stuff, but yeah, I never paid that much attention, to be honest with you. But I'll go with that. His international time ran out. Things like
yeah, there was something like that. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but that's correct. Whatever that program was only lasted for a certain amount of time. And I assume that the team would have had to sign him to, like a actual deal like Mailata for him to stick around. But it also said that he's thinking of transitioning to the coaching staff. So, we'll see how that goes.
He's been around long enough. He's sat with some good defensive line coaches and stuff. I'm liking this Tracy Rocker guy, man. Like Tracy Rocker, like I know they're not going to give him a head coaching job, but this guy, Tracy, okay. One thing that everybody knows about me that knows me personally, I'm not that big of a fan of our wide receiver coach. I feel like, you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith. It's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but it's too many why isn't Quez getting better questions, and it's too many what are we going to do with Greg Ward, and why can't Zach Pascal be more effective than what he is other than just being a blocker? Why did J.J. Arthur-Whiteside never get better under this guy and stuff like that? So I had his name on the tip of my tongue and everything, so let me look it up. But I've never liked the receivers coach a whole lot. But as funny as this sounds, we had the offensive coordinator that they got rid of. He was with Doug Peterson for a while.
Mike Groh.
Yeah. He did his thing. That was the best that we ever saw Nelson Aguilar look. So I'm like, we get a better version of Nelson Aguilar and everything. That's coaching to me. We get a guy that's just like living off the fact that you got two all-stars at the position. Congratulations to Devontae Smith is in the top 100 now. We're pretty sure A.J. Brown's going to show up there. But you get two guys who are just phenomenal at what they do and things of that nature. Like, yeah, of course you're going to have some steam, but for you to be a great wide receiver coach, I need for Deion Kane to make this team. I need for Greg Ward to get on the field and be relatively productive, like we saw in that playoff run towards the end of the 2019 season. I need to see Jaden Hazelwood and Joseph Nagata to actually look like they actually have a chance of making this look roster. I want Charleston Rambo to look good. I want Quez Watkins to not blow 3 games. Like that's coaching to me. So I'm like, until I see him like that, I'm not gonna give him credit. But on the other hand of that, you got Tracy Rocker. You got you mentioned this before, Jake. Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph show up in the middle of the season. By the weekend, they're ready to play.
Right.
And they're effective. You got Jalen Carter coming in. They're talking about just how quickly Jalen Carter is picking things up, just how Jordan Davis has slimmed down and how Jordan Davis is looking better now and things of that nature. That's coaching to me. So I'm going to give Tracy Rocker his props, but I keep forgetting to look up this guy's name. Aaron Moorhead, wide receivers coach.
Aaron Moorhead.
No.
So with that in mind, if he's struggling to develop all the other guys who have played football all of their lives, how confident are we that, I mean, he's already struggling, Devin Allen, because he's on the PUP list to start already, right? But a guy coming from track and field, how confident should anybody be that he's actually going to develop into an NFL caliber receiver with Aaron Moorhead coaching him?
Zero confidence. He's hurt, first of all. He got a calf injury and he's not playing. So that's number one. Then you got just the fact that I have no confidence. Aaron Moorhead is living off the fact that he got Devontae Smith and he got A.J. Brown. And they're just good. They were good before they met Aaron Moorhead. And their progression to continue to get better is more about A.J. Brown and more about Devontae Smith than it is about Aaron Moorhead. Aaron Moorhead is not a great wide receivers coach. Now, like we mentioned, he actually made Nelson Aguilar look formidable. He actually made Nelson Aguilar productive. Like, I like that. Like, Quez Watkins is going in the wrong direction. Olamide Zaccheaus might be able to play, but that's probably more about Olamide Zaccheaus than what anything Aaron Moorhead is doing. But Tracy Rocker, yeah, you get the benefit of the doubt because Jalen Carter looks like good. We forget this guy could have been like the first pick in the NFL draft. Jordan Davis he's top 10, right? He was a top 10 pick, right?
Was
12 or 13?
13, I thought.
Oh, he's 13. Okay, so top 15.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you got Jordan Davis is slimmed down and he looks better. And people are talking about, you know what? He might end up being a better pass rusher than we gave him credit for being. Jalen Carter is a stud. Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh are both old. They show up in the middle of the season on a Wednesday. They're ready to play by Sunday. Tracy Rocker is the guy. He's not going to get a head coaching job. But I got to give guys like that credit every time I talk to them. And I got to hold guys accountable. Aaron Moorhead is being held accountable right now by this show, even if I'm the only one doing it.
Now, Sirianni, when he was at Kansas City, was he their wide receiver coach? Was he like an assistant wide receiver thing? Didn't have like a background in that?
He does have a
That's
wide
why we
receiver
have Google, because we don't have to remember this stuff. We can just plug it in and that's Google.
He does have a wide receiver background.
Because I'm wondering if he's stirring the drink there a little bit. But the other thing is
offensive quality control coach 2011, wide receivers coach in 2012 at Kansas City.
Okay, so I mean,
wide receivers coach is San Diego / LA in 2016, 2017. Okay. Offensive coordinator is Colts 18 to 20.
Okay, so I mean, he's got experience with that. I'm wondering if he sees something in Aaron Moorhead that he likes, or if Nick Sirianni sees something in Aaron Moorhead that he likes, or if Nick Sirianni is the one that's kind of like helping out in the wide receiver room. But even that, you would have to think that he would kind of recognize the and faults is the right word, like some of the issues with Aaron Moore. You would think that he would be able to kind of recognize that stuff. So yeah, I think you do bring up good points, but it's kind of a weird dichotomy in that coaching room.
We need to consider the possibility that Aaron Moorhead has some dirt on Nick Sirianni.
That could be it too.
Yeah, I'm reading that here. Aaron Moorhead was with us back in 2020, so he was here in Peterson's last year. So he must have done something for Sirianni to retain him when he was hired in 21.
Spied on.
Like I said, when we opened, we sat here and said, like, these guys know more about what they're doing than we do. Like, we think, like, a lot of guys feel like they can coach because they can play Madden. Like, I've never subscribed to that. I know that these guys know more about what they're doing. Sometimes they miss. I don't know why Howie Roseman didn't know that Jalen Reagor wasn't better than Justin Jefferson. We all knew it.
I'm all in on buying in on the Aaron Moorhead has dirt on Nick Sirianni. Somebody ought to track and see like if they ever went to Tijuana together or anything. See what happened there.
But you know, on that note though, about how these guys know more than we do, and that's generally true. But there, every now and then, they do something where we knew from the very beginning, for example, that Juan Castillo shouldn't be the defensive coordinator. You know, like he was the offensive line guy, and Andy made him the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, sometimes they miss. Like I don't get that.
And it's obvious. What are you doing? That was
I refuse to believe.
Moments.
I refuse to believe that Nathaniel Hackett knows less about football or knows more about football than me. I refuse to believe that.
He just knows Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and he knows a football player. Congratulations.
Hey, I'm pulling for him because he's Eagle, because Jalil is Optimus Prime, and I'm the pessimistic guy here that always gets beat up on because I'm so negative that I feed into the Negadelphia thing. But, I mean, I got to see it. I'm pulling for Aaron Moorhead. I want to see him do well because he's one of us. But I'm like, I know A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith can play, and I knew that when they were at Ole Miss in Alabama.
Right.
Quez Watkins, the first thing I heard about Quez Watkins was he looks like a speedboat pulling away from canoes. That's the first thing I ever heard about Quez Watkins. I knew he was fast. I want to see him fight through the ball and get back to the ball. I want to see Quez Watkins develop into somebody that I feel like, because I feel like the slot thing was a little tricky for him. Like, I feel like if you stick him on the outside and make him like, a backup just in case something happens, I feel like I feel more confident in that too, but it is obviously a drop-off from A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith to Quez Watkins. I believe Olamide Zaccheaus will play, and I believe he's going to eventually take over the WR3 role because he's going to be playing with the second team, and he knows Marcus Mariota, and Marcus Mariota is going to try to funnel the ball to the guy he knows will catch the ball and will make him look good. And he'll make Olamide look good as a result. But I need Jaden Hazelwood to impress me in the preseason. I need Ngata to impress me in the preseason because he didn't impress me at Clemson. Charleston Rambo, I've seen him at Miami and Oklahoma, and I thought he was pretty decent and stuff like that. I want to see a resurgence from Greg Ward, who is now, believe it or not, the elder statesman on this team at the wide receiver position. And I want to see some nice stuff from Deion Kane. He comes from wide receiver U, Clemson. Like, show me something. I want Deion Kane to make this team.
USFL MVP.
I want to feel like Moorhead had something to do with it.
Yeah, no, that's right. A quick note before we get out of here. Edmonds was among a few players who stayed after practice for some extra work. That's nice to hear since he started off today, with the second team. Because we've talked about Kayvon Wallace, just not certain he should be the starter. I'd prefer it be Edmonds. Just have a little bit more faith, so hopefully he can get that work in. Lamade was another one of those people who stayed after practice for some extra work. So nice to see them boys taking it serious.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a blow to your ego when Kayvon Wallace is starting over you in practice. That's how you, maybe, that could have been the play. Maybe you want Terrell Edmonds to stick after you, like, hey, Kayvon's going to get in front of you, and it's a personal affront.
I feel like they're just giving guys shots and stuff just because it's the first training camp practice. So we'll see what happens and stuff.
I mean, that's what they're doing with the running backs. Just play on whatever team.
Rashad Penny's a beast.
I like that.
If he was talking him and AJ, if these guys, AJ already looks like a linebacker, but if Rashad Penny was a little bit taller, he'd look like a linebacker. So he was the first round draft pick.
Love that.
That boy got skills.
Rashad Penny was the first round draft pick.
That boy got skills. He's nice.
Turns out terrible, muscle toughness, strength, bone toughness, bone density. I don't know. Maybe drink more milk, Rashad. That's my training camp.
Any final thoughts? Like I said, I got a date with the Usos and Roman Reigns.
I'm good to go. I said
getting to me. Go ahead,
Kevin.
Yep. I'm just excited for the season to start. I mean, coming off the Super Bowl loss, it was a little bit shorter off season, but I'm just excited to see the team back out there, training camp, preseason, and kind of get this thing started.
Yes, indeed.
I'm all in on that.
Yes, indeed. Hall of Fame game next week. All excited.
Yeah, can't wait for football back on the TV.
All the juice. And then Hard Knocks the week after that, right? Yeah,
give me all the
I'm a little excited for Hard Knocks. Like
I am too. I always like
over the Hard Knocks experience at this point. It's the same thing every year, but I can get hyped up for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers.
I'm a big fan of the first episode and a half of Hard Knocks. And then after that, I'm like, all right, we're kind of done.
I never get to that last episode when people start getting cut. I never.
They're not doing that this year. They're not doing that this year. They said when the Jets are like, okay, we'll do it, but we're not going to do that because they use the word inhumane. I think to show people getting cut, and it's like, yeah, but
it's football. We're worried about hurting people. That's the world we live in. Everybody got to get a ribbon.
Part of the whole Hard Knocks experience every year was finding that cool guy to root for early on, and then him getting cut at the end of Hard Knocks.
Script.
Every year.
Yep.
All right. Shout out to everybody that hung out with us tonight and everything. Rodney Williams, we see you. David Mamarella.
Hey, Mom.
Everybody that's hanging out with us and everything. We just appreciate you guys chilling with us tonight and everything. And we hope we were entertaining. And to those of y'all who normally watch us 36 hours after the broadcast ends, we appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next week as well. You've been listening to Inside the Eagles Live. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.
Go Birds.